Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here at my next YouTube video. This is going to be my next Pokemon X and Y news update video. This is going to be my thoughts on the news that came out of E3. So before I get into that, I just want to mention that finally the thing I've been waiting for, at least one of them, arrived. Here it is, the Arch Charizard action figure. I'll try and get up a review of him within this week, sometime this week. So expect a review of this awesome guy sometime later in the week. But anyway, some notes here. I'm going to talk about the X and Y news. First of all, game confirmed release date. It's coming out October 12th worldwide, basically. That's pretty cool. Along with this, it was confirmed that basically you can choose the language between like English, German, Spanish, French, Japanese, Korean. I think I forgot one, but that's pretty cool. Like you can choose the language. Interesting if you're maybe interested in learning another language or something like that. That's pretty cool. It's not just where you buy the game that determines the language. It's just you choose your language. That's interesting. But the biggest thing I think was definitely the confirmation of Fairy type. Finally. After months of speculation, it's been confirmed that Fairy type exists, and it's interesting that they later explained that the reason for introducing this type was, first and foremost, I think to combat overpowered dragon Pokemon who have a clear advantage in some cases, because in the metagame they are some of the most powerful Pokemon out there. Garchomp, Salamence, Dragonite, Druddigon, and so on. And then loads of legendary Pokemon Dragon type as well, so they definitely needed, I think, something else to combat them. So, and they also did this to combat some imbalances in the type chart overall. So that's a pretty cool thing as well. In that they're also introducing this type to not just take out other types, but also boost other types as well. That's what it seems like they're saying as well. So, the only thing we really have confirmed with regards to type matchups is that its Fairy type attacks are going to be super effective against dragons, which makes complete sense. That they're trying to combat dragons. Another super effective thing. That's cool. Pokemon confirmed as of now to be Dragon type are Sylveon, obviously the new evolution, and then they're going to retroactively give Pokemon Fairy typing. So Gardevoir is going to be a Psychic Fairy type. Jigglypuff is going to be a normal Fairy type, and Marill is going to now be a Water Fairy type instead of a Water normal, I think. So that's pretty interesting. I suppose that Fairy type with Gardevoir is interesting in that Gallade had Psychic Fighting typing, and now Gardevoir is also dual typed as well. So that's another interesting one. Jigglypuff being normal Fairy. That's interesting that they didn't just take away the normal typing from some of those Pokemon, that are actually keeping it on Jigglypuff. At least from what we know, at least I'm not sure if that's fully confirmed if it's going to keep the normal typing, but either way, Jigglypuff is going to be a Fairy type. For me, it would kind of make more sense maybe to replace normal typing with Fairy typing or something like that, but it's not too big of a deal, I don't think. And then the most interesting for me was definitely Marill being confirmed to be a Fairy type now. And if that indeed applies to Azumarill when Marill evolves, that's going to be pretty cool. While I think we'll all have to mourn the loss of Stab, huge powered Double Edge from Azumarill, definitely the fact that it's going to have Stab Fairy type attacks that will most likely be able to really take down dragons is a pretty huge thing for that. And if there's like a priority fairy move that always hits first, Azumarill could be amazing with like Aqua Jet and stab priority fairy attacks. So that's pretty cool. We got 2 Fairy type attacks confirmed. One is called Moonblast, and I think we saw Sylveon use this attack. And basically, it hits, it does damage, and it also lowers. We don't know if there's a chance to lower or it always lowers. I assume it's more of a chance to lower your opponent's special attack. That makes sense. A lot of dragon attacks are maybe specially based, and also will help with other types as well. Gardevoir, I think, used a move called Fairy Wind, which is interesting. So they're the type of names we're going to get for these fairy attacks: Moon, Fairy. So I think we can basically confirm that Pokemon like Clefairy, who I think is got a lot to do with the moon, is definitely going to be fairy type. So Clefairy is definitely going to be fairy. And I assume a lot of the other Pokemon within in the fairy egg group are also going to be fairy typed as well. My big kind of thing I'm going for now is that I really hope that there's a fairy move called a glitter cannon, just because that sounds amazing. You know, we've had a flash cannon and stuff like that, but glitter cannon sounds like a fairy type move. Anyway, now let's get into some speculation here. I mentioned in my last video the rumors behind all the type matchups for fairy type, and the rumors were that it was super effective against dragon, which is confirmed now, but also that it was super effective against dark and fighting. I think that's really good for especially dark. I think dark doesn't have many weaknesses. Fighting is the only one I remember off the top of my head. So giving dark another kind of weakness is good, I think, for the type chart as well. Fighting getting another weakness. It has, what does it have? It's weak to psychic and flying, I think. So I think that's all fighting is. So another one for against fighting will be interesting if it turns out to be true. The big thing though is that fairy types are supposedly rumored to be immune to dragon attacks and that they don't do any damage. It's not just that fairy types resist it, it's just they don't do any damage. That would make them really powerful. That would give them something, a big reason to use fairies in your team over, say, an ice Pokemon or a rock Pokemon to take out dragons. Just the fact that you can switch in on a Draco Meteor or something like that and just attack. That's really cool. That gives fairy types a big advantage if they are indeed immune to dragons. I'm not sure why they would be immune. Like, it makes sense that like there's like immunities between ghost and normal and stuff like that, but you know, dragons, why wouldn't they be able to hit fairy types? Something like that. Either way, I think they're probably going to do at least a resistance. Fairy types are resistant to dragon attacks. That's cool. Rumors are that fairy types are going to be weak to poison and steel. That is kind of playing into what they said before, that it's going to try and balance out some of the imbalances in the type charts. One of those imbalances is that poison and steel attacks aren't effective against a lot of things. Poison, as far as I can remember, is only super effective against grass. Steel is only super effective against rock and ice. So that's big for those two types. If that is indeed the case, because that would give poison types something else. I know, like what this all adds up to is like making your team in that. Poison types will probably become more effective. Dragon types won't be as effective. More fairy types will be used, so less dragons will be used. So more poisons will be used. So there's an interesting triangle kind of that develops there. Poison makes sense for like why they'd be super effective. But like, you know, poison a fairy. Steel type, maybe fairies can't do much to steel or something like that. Kind of makes sense. Yeah. And then the other rumor is that the resists are fire and psychic. Psychic makes sense to me that fairy type attacks don't are no, psychic isn't going to do much to fairies because they're kind of magical. Maybe they resist psychic, something like that, and then fire's not going to do much either. So kind of makes sense. Final rumor will be that Xerneas, the X kind of a cover Pokemon, is going to be a fairy type. That kind of makes sense because Xerneas doesn't look to be any other type of Pokemon beyond maybe normal. So that's just a rumor for now, as are most of the stuff except super effective against dragons. So overall, I'm super excited about fairy type, just because of what it's going to do to like metagame, planning your team out. And I really hope we get the kind of full type matchups of fairy type soon, because you know, if it turns out that poison and steel are super effective against it, that's big. And if it's super effective against dark and fighting as well as dragons, that's big. But anyway, next I'll cover the new Pokemon. So I'm going to show some pictures here. First one is called Noivern or something like that. Here's a picture. This thing is a flying dragon type, and it also kind of showcased this new move called Boom Burst, which is actually a normal type attack. So that seems interesting. Boom Burst. Wonder what like normal Pokemon is going to get that move, because I doubt a normal type move would be the signature move of this flying dragon Pokemon. So there's probably going to be a normal type Pokemon that has these kind of like boom bursting attacks or something like that. But overall, Noivern, an interesting Pokemon. Kind of based off a bat, kind of based off a wyvern, and overall seems very interesting. Is this going to be the kind of pseudo legendary kind of dragon Pokemon of this generation, like your Salamence, like your Druddigon, and so on? Maybe. Who knows? That's pretty cool. Next one is Vivillon, who is a bug flying Pokemon. Really nice looking Pokemon, as you can see. Definitely, I think butterfly Pokemon have become a little bit stale, but this design is very unique. It looks almost digital in the way some of the wings are done. Um, and it just looks like a really nice Pokemon. It's a bug flying type, so same type as like Butterfree and so on. The move that was shown was Struggle Bug. You can use Struggle Bug, makes sense. So what's the interesting thing about this is it going to get some move like that kind of digitally based? Maybe it's going to be kind of have some Porygon special effects or something like that. Special abilities or something like that. Trace, maybe you can copy stuff with its wings. Who knows? And it supposedly evolves from a Pokemon called Spupa. So Spupa is probably going to be the basic kind of caterpillar-like Pokemon that evolves into Vivillon. That's interesting. Next one is Skrelp, who is, as you can see here, poison water Pokemon, and very unique design here. This kind of horsey, oh my god, I said that completely wrong. Seahorse Pokemon. I don't even, is that even a thing? I don't even know. Anyway, really unique looking thing. Poison water makes sense given its look. Sorry about the noise in the background. I think there's some work being done in the house across the way. But poison water, used the move it's shown using is Sludge Bomb. So stab, Sludge Bomb seems interesting. For me, the big thing here would be, we've had a poison water Pokemon before, and it's Tentacruel. And for the most part, Tentacruel is a defensive Pokemon, so that's what I always look for when there's a similarity in Pokemon, like this type, and it's a very water based Pokemon. So like, what's the difference in like stats going to be? So I have a feeling that this thing is maybe going to be a bit more offensive based, while Tentacruel's defensive. So that would make sense, in that maybe they're giving Poison a bit more offensive capabilities, that they'll make this thing more of a poison water attacker. That seems interesting. But not much else to say other than, it's a bit of a weird design, but definitely interesting, and like to see if this thing evolves into something would be cool. Next we have Clauncher. I think that's how you pronounce it, Clauncher or something. Who's just a standard water Pokemon. And it looks, as you can see, pretty interesting. Another kind of crustacean based Pokemon, like a crab. The moves it's shown using are Swords Dance and Crab Hammer. Pretty nice combination. But again, we've had a water Pokemon that's based on a crustacean before. We've had like Krabby who evolves into Kingler. And I think that line of Pokemon, what defined it was that it had high attack, high defense, and everything else was average. So, is this thing, that's the thing, if it's using Swords Dance and Crab Hammer, that suggests that it also has high attack, and probably high defense as well. So the only thing I could see this being different is that having very similar stats to Kingler, except instead of having high normal attack, it has high normal defense. It has high special defense or something like that. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, or else it's a really quick Pokemon, has lots of speed, maybe lots of health or something. I think it has to do something a lot different to Kingler. I suppose I'm assuming it evolves into something a bit bigger. But I like this Pokemon. It's really kind of cool. The color blue that it is. It's probably maybe a more water-based Pokemon than Kingler is. Kingler seems to use like a lot of Crab Hammer attacks. So maybe this thing has really powerful water moves, something like that. But yeah, I'll move on to the last new Pokemon, I believe, who is Talonflame, who kind of hasn't been confirmed as the evolution of Fletchling. No one really knows. Here's what it looks like. Definitely looks like the evolution of Fletchling in that it has the same colors. It's a flying Pokemon. Yeah, it keeps the flying typing, but it's now a fire type Pokemon, so it loses the normal typing if it evolves from Fletchling, which is what I suspected and what I was looking for. The design itself, not the best. I kind of expected more because I thought Fletchling was a really nice looking bird Pokemon, and I felt this thing kind of just makes it look much too bulky. Like it just evolved kind of. The proportions, I think, is the main thing. Like this thing suddenly has huge legs, while Fletching had kind of really small legs. So I'd kind of would have preferred they kept those proportions. And the bio that they kind of give of Talonflame says that it kicks things as well. So that kind of maybe hints that maybe it's its own Pokemon and not anything to do with Fletchling. But more than likely, probably is. Um, but for me, the big thing is flying fire type Pokemon. And if it is indeed this is the early bird Pokemon in this game. That's nice. You get a fire Pokemon very early on. When it evolves, which may help people to decide maybe not to pick Fennekin as their starter Pokemon because they're already going to have a fire in Fletchling because he needed to fly or something like that. But overall, I think it's a pretty nice reveal of these Pokemon and some very nice ones there. And then I'm just going to cover some of the other stuff that was revealed through the videos, through the panel and stuff like that. Sky battles were confirmed, which is basically that some trainers will challenge you to battles just using Pokemon who can fly or use like an ability like levitate or something like that. And if you don't have any of these Pokemon with you who can do it, you basically can't do the battle. So that's a very specific style of battling, and it could be very interesting maybe if a metagame develops as like sky battles. So like it only involves Pokemon who have is a flying type or has an ability like levitate or something like that. That would be interesting because that takes a lot of Pokemon out of the equation completely. So that could be an interesting kind of off on its own kind of style of battling if they kind of make it available that you can battle online in sky battles or something like that. So it hasn't been confirmed yet if like there's anything different about the actual battles themselves beyond that like only certain Pokemon can participate. But sounds pretty cool. Sky battles, nice idea. Next are Horde encounters, which is basically that instead of running into wild Pokemon, you run into multiple wild Pokemon. So the thing they show is basically like a Froakie running into 5 Houndour, and it hasn't really been explained the best, but basically what they say is that you can only attack one of them. You have to select which one you want to attack, and then supposedly all 4 of the remaining Pokemon, if you kill one of them, gets to attack then. So this could put you at a big disadvantage, like if you come up against a lot of these hordes. But they say you get lots of experience from it, so that's a good thing. Definitely could add a lot of challenge to the game, and that like if you're suddenly training up a Pokemon and then you get hit with a horde and it's a huge battle, like that could add some interesting stuff outside of trainer battles or gym battles. Sounds interesting. And definitely want more specifics on that to see how exactly it works, because there could be situations where the game gets very frustrating if you happen to come up against like imagine running into like 5 reasonably powerful dragon Pokemon or something like that, and you don't have a fairy around. Like that could be a pretty bad situation. But it seems like they're doing something like that. The horde Pokemon are always a lot weaker, so like they're like 10 levels weaker than the normal standard 1 Pokemon you run into. Next thing is called PSS, which is Player Search System, which seems to be the new way to get into battles online, that sort of thing. And with this, they confirmed like more customization stuff. You can customize your hair and also your appearance now. The use of the word appearance was very kind of vague, but there definitely seems to be a reasonable amount of customization in that you can make your trainer look quite unique. And then your little icon appears up that like you can be friends with people, you can be acquaintances with them, or you can just like be online with them or something like that. Seems like a really nice idea for ease of battling, definitely. Next thing is that, contrary to what was mentioned before, like a week or two ago, you can actually ride other Pokemon other than Go-Goat. Um, in this case, we were shown that you can ride on Rhydon, obviously that Pokemon. Uh, but it seems very specific in that they also mention stuff like there are various points in the game where you kind of have to use roller skates to skate around the place, like to grind around, stuff like that. Like you may have to use a Pokemon like Rhydon to ride around a rocky area that's too kind of tough to walk on. You may have to use Go-Goat to like hop over kind of grass fences or something like that. So that seems like a very nice idea to maybe, and it says you can borrow these Pokemon to maybe do that. That seems like a nice idea at maybe taking away some of the HMs and then just introducing like you borrow a Pokemon to get through certain areas and like that. Nice idea again. There's this whole new thing called Pokemon Ame. That's a French word, you know. Pokemon Love or something like that, I don't know. Where basically you can look after your Pokemon. You can like stroke them, you can feed them, clean them or something like that. And what it does is basically increases your Pokemon in like the next battle or something like that. Again, there's not much specifics on it, but I think it was said that something like at certain times, like if you do it, your chances for critical hits in like the next battle go up by a bit. I'd be a bit worried if some of this stuff is like permanent. Like, I get it. Like if you just like before going into like a gym battle, you like clean all your Pokemon just to get them that little bit extra like power or something like that. That seems like a nice idea. But like if this like works permanently, where like you can EV train your Pokemon, IV breed your Pokemon, and then clean it a lot to make it super powerful before an online battle, that's a bit like no way. So I hope this stuff doesn't really play a role in like online battling or something like that, and hopefully it doesn't play too much of a role in normal battles as well, where you can just completely overpower your Pokemon just by kind of looking after them, sort of thing. But overall, I think it's a pretty clever idea. Um, Last thing I want to mention is just that they mentioned that EV slash IV IVs are going to be more visible in the game. For anyone who is wondering what they are, EVs are basically effort values, which are I think this have been kind of secret in the game, but at the same time have been crucial to making your Pokemon the best. And like you kill when you beat Pokemon, you basically get effort values and in certain stats, and when you get enough, they increase your stats even more. So that's what effort values are. And then IVs are basically when you catch a new Pokemon or given a Pokemon or hatch a new Pokemon, they in their kind of almost genetics have this much potential in each topic or each stat. So like at the most of 31 in each. Like you dream of having a Pokemon with 31 in each of the 6 stats, but for the most part it's random between them all. So they're going to make a way to make that more visible. So that's really going to help people trying to do competitive stuff in game, which has always been a tough thing to do because you always have to like really heavily keep track of what your EVs are, and IVs have been just really silly with how the game kind of tells you what they are. So if they're more visible, that's a really nice idea. This was kind of confirmed. This next thing was kind of confirmed and then kind of not confirmed. But it seems like Team Preview is now gone from like online battles. And now what Team Preview was that before every battle you basically got to see your opponent's whole team of 6 Pokemon before the battle, when I think the generation before that you didn't, and that changed the way people battle because you obviously knew that like, oh, they've got a dragon type Pokemon, so I know if I go into this Pokemon they're then going to send their dragon in, so I can switch in this. And it just made the game a bit too like, you know who's going to win the battle just because you know their team going into it. So if they take away the team preview, that could make a lot of battles a lot more interesting. In that their Pokemon they send out are going to be complete surprises. Now, I personally hope they do bring back, they don't bring back Team Preview. I like the concept of like a lot of the battles being a surprise. Like you send out a Pokemon, the one they send out is a complete surprise. Because more often than not, you look at your opponent's team before a battle and you see, oh, they've got that. They're definitely going to lead with that Pokemon, depending on what your team is. So there's a lot of things here interesting there. But yeah, overall, I think that's the main news from E3. There's a lot of other stuff. There's a link to PokeBeach in the description, and they have all the news up basically. But I think I covered all the big stuff. So thank you for watching this video, and bye.